Hey guys, welcome back to A Story with Rory, and I'm your host. Long time no see. It's been a while since we've been on. We had the holidays and a lot of stuff come up, so keeping us busy. We have a very special guest tonight. His name is Brian. He's from my home state, Oklahoma, and he saw something pretty cool. Hey Brian, how's it going? Tell us where you're calling from, and go ahead and start from the beginning on what you saw, man.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on. Um, from Moore, Oklahoma, just outside of Oklahoma City, if you're not familiar. Um, and so I was just in my garage working, and I noticed out to the west of where I'm at. My garage faces directly west, so I just took a breather or whatever. And super clear night. I could see all the stars out in the sky, just real clear. And all of a sudden I saw this orb or this light source, I guess you could say. And it was real hazy and it almost looked like it was going through a fog or something. It was real weird.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I was just looking at it, and so at first I couldn't tell that it was really moving.
Right.
Um, so I got my phone out, and it was not long. I mean, it was about the time I was getting my phone out, I could see it actually moving. And then all of a sudden it just shot out this ray or whatever it is. I don't know. And that really, I was like, man, that's crazy. So, but yeah, that was about it. So, and about as fast as I saw it, it kind of just faded away and disappeared. So super
Yeah,
weird.
it was like a mist or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, so guys, Brian showed us the video. He sent it to us. So I'm gonna go ahead and play it here so you guys can all see it. Um, it's pretty incredible. So let's just take a view real quick and see what happened. That's that's crazy. I don't even know where to where to begin on something like that. The interesting thing is there's a guy on the Facebook group that has a video just like yours, and I want to say it's a different time of day, but he sees the exact same orb and it puts off this like gas mist. I don't know what it is. And a lot of people want to say, "Oh, it's SpaceX and it's a booster, that's spinning off the atmosphere and coming back into orbit or coming back
Mm.
into the ground or whatever for landing." But I've seen those before, and those usually always they spin and then they come down. This
Mhm.
thing was just like poofs off this little whatever it is and it just stays there. And this other
Yeah.
guy has the same video, and I'm pretty sure they're both from the same kind of area, Oklahoma area. So I don't know. I like the video you sent me though of the Area 51 where it was like a series of lights coming all together, just
Hmm.
moving. Uh, you know, it's been on the internet quite a bit. I don't know the explanation for that either, but it's fascinating.
Absolutely.
Um, you see something like that, and you try to process it, and you're just like, I can't process this. Like at least you got your phone out because the thing that I saw back in 2023, I didn't know what it was, and I was actually driving at the time, so you're not supposed to use your cell phone while you're driving. So I was just gonna pull over, but at the same time I couldn't process what it was. So I was like, is it thread? Is it not? I have no idea. So I just never dawned on me, hey, pull the car over, get your phone out, and zoom in.
Yeah.
Take some pictures, get some evidence, and I just when you're that stumped, sometimes it's just hard to even, get your brain to do that. I don't know. So
Yeah.
kudos on getting the video. That's awesome.
Yeah. You bet.
Um, and it's weird to see that like in the suburb area of like because Moore is kind of a suburb of OKC, and it's one thing when you're out in the country because it's like, oh, it's out in the country. A lot of things, there's test flights. There's also a lot of stuff that goes on there, like testing of whatnot. Who knows what it could be, but it could just be something that maybe someone has a crazy new invention or drone that they're out there testing. But to see something like that in the city where there's a major airport, a worldwide airport nearby, because Will Rogers isn't far from that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I get people from like southern parts of the state where it's more rural, see things like that. It kind of makes some sense, but still not, completely. But to be in like a city like that and see that, I think that's kind of, I think that speaks volumes, because it's like that's private airspace, that's restricted airspace. Like nothing can be up there unless it's given that authorization. So,
And the other kind of weird thing is that there was no sound to it either.
right.
Um, you would think with something like that, if it was some kind of rocket booster or whatever entering back into the atmosphere, you'd hear something most likely.
Yeah,
But
I mean
yeah, it
any
was
propulsion whatsoever, and you would have something. You'd have
yeah,
a sound wave of some kind.
right. And I had kind of told you a little bit before that it was probably a year ago or so. I saw something very similar. It didn't give off
Hmm.
a ray or anything like that, but it was basically the same thing, and it just kind of faded away. Is didn't have the. I don't think I had phone then. Whenever I was, I don't think I filmed that one at that point. But yeah,
So
super crazy.
after it emitted the ray or mist or whatever it is, what
Hmm.
happened? What happened after that with
So after
with
that,
the object?
yeah. So after that, it pretty much right after that, it just really started fading away to where I couldn't see anything anymore.
Was it
Um,
traveling at the same pace?
yeah, it looked like it was still going the same speed, the same trajectory, um,
Hmm.
but it just faded away. It was
Wow.
nuts.
Did it fade away like it was going towards the ground? Did it fade away? It just got so far to where you couldn't see anymore. It's like a little dot and then it just vanishes.
Yeah, well, it's almost like somebody turned off the light switch with the fade deal, and it just kind of faded
Yeah.
away that way.
Yeah.
Um, it didn't seem like it was. I feel like I still should have seen it, um,
Right.
because it wasn't very long after it did that that I couldn't see it at all.
Hmm.
So
That's just wild. I mean, the thing that I saw was sitting above the trees about like 30 to 50 feet, and I could tell it was metal, and it was right off the turnpike, and it was just sitting there, like on the easement between the turnpike and the fence where the property line starts, and it was just sitting there, and I was like, it's just a black dot, and I was about a mile away. My wife's like, "What is that?" I'm like, "I have no idea." So we get closer, and like I said, I never thought pull the truck over, get my phone out, start recording, nothing like that, and we're both just completely stumped, So I had to have my eyes on the road, and every once in a while, I would just keep glancing at it, and I'm like, the thing's not moving, it has no propulsion, you know, like you said, no sound, and obviously yours had propulsion, so it was moving, but you couldn't hear anything. So that right there is an anomaly, where you defy physics when you have something like that, unless it's like some kind of balloon, which I don't know any balloon that lights up with light.
right,
That's popular of a sighting or some sort, like the Chinese spy balloon, that maybe someone like, or it popped, whatever, it got to a certain point, it popped, and then it just kind of fizzled down. Well,
right,
yours kept traveling, so
yeah,
nothing took the wind out of its sail, So that's wild, man. That's I
yeah,
don't even
because
know what to.
it was headed toward kind of the southeast, mostly south. I guess it'd be south southeast
Right,
direction. And but yeah, it kept going that direction, not down. So
right.
crazy.
Now, the only orbs that I have seen in Oklahoma is, and I have this on my channel on one of the other videos where I do this Bigfoot call because there's a speculation that Bigfoot and UFOs have a tie together, or there's some kind of sync to it, or whatever. There's just been stories where they've seen like a UFO, and then there's been a Bigfoot around it, or like right underneath it, something like
Yeah,
that. And it's really really popular up in Washington, California, places like that, the Pacific Northwest. Well, one night I was just trying to be, you know, facetious or whatever. And I go outside and it's super quiet. I mean, there is no insects, no frogs, and it's a warm month. So we should have had some kind of sound. And
right.
anyways, I do a couple of these little like Bigfoot whoops or calls or what do you want to call them.
Hmm.
And I'm saying like after 5 seconds I do it, I see two orbs of light following each other coming from the south, traveling at high rate of speed. I mean, like super fast, like more than a few hundred miles an hour,
Yeah.
coming this both gliding, and then they immediately get to where like my house is, and they just kind of like shoot up into the clouds, and
Oh,
I didn't hear a thing, nothing,
that's not.
no, yeah, no turbine, no thruster, no nothing. I mean, it was just completely silent. And after that, I was like, okay, maybe there is something to these orbs of light. Like, because at first I'm like, kind of skeptic. Could be uh, a drone, a air balloon, all the things people say, gas
Yeah.
off the horizon, But when you see it firsthand, it's different. Like you're not so much as a skeptic as of like wrapping your brain around it. Like, how did I see that? What really was it? It was it obviously it wasn't a figment of your imagination. And there's times you're like, oh, I didn't see that, but then you did. So
Yeah.
it's like I still need some kind of explanation for this. But I'm gonna try to get that other guy on the horn that has a video very similar to yours.
Hmm.
And you should go on to what is it? The Oklahoma Strange Sightings Facebook group. It's on there. It's on the wall. So see if you can find
Okay.
it. I'm gonna try to get him on. I try to reach out to him, but I think it's like his relatives' video. So I don't think he wanted to do an interview at the time. But I might ask him if I can just borrow it, use it on the show, and kind of compare yours and compare his, and just see because it's the same movement. It's traveling off puts some kind of material, and then it just keeps going.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, what the heck is this thing? You know?
Yeah. And so there was a whole bunch of people that had seen this same thing all the way down to Texas. There were sightings of that same thing all the way to Texas.
See, that's what gets me is like it's definitely in the region of Oklahoma, Texas, that area, like the Southwest region.
Yeah.
But it's just like, what is it? And if I can get other people that have video of it as well, that's my goal is to try to get the same videos, they're different videos of the same thing, and just kind of piecing them together, matching them all up. So
Yeah.
that's kind of what I'm going for here is to connect the dots. But man, that's crazy. Yeah, definitely keep your eye out in the sky because if you see something else like that, that's just crazy. I want to play it one more time for anyone that's just joining in. Um, this is just I don't know. It's just truly incredible the way it moves, traveling. And this is inner city too. This isn't like in the country. It's traveling. It off puts something. And you know what? It almost okay. So when you look at the beginning of it, it's a ball, right?
Hmm.
And then as it goes on, by the end of the video, when it puts the whatever it is material out, it almost kind of like the light hits it differently, and it almost changes like a shape. See,
Yeah.
it gets it gets kind of like elongated right
Yeah.
there, and it's like this little bowl, and then it's just kind of like flat almost.
And so something else I hadn't told you about this, and you can't really see it very well in the video, but in person, um, it had a whole bunch of different colors, um, blues and greens and pinks and stuff like that, that you could actually see in person. And I don't think the video picks it up as well.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna show you a picture from a different podcast we had from a guy in Colorado, and he took a picture of this as it was going across the sky. Um, Let me see here. I might have to shrink us for a minute if you don't mind. Uh, there we go.
Yeah.
Was it anything like that? Like there
Yeah.
were these? Okay,
Yeah. It was a lot like that. Mine was a little bit more blurry. That seems a whole lot more clear. But
so the green and white or the green and red, is a popular aircraft. Uh,
like
well, I don't know about aircraft, but it's on boats like port, starboard, or starboard is red and green.
right.
But I think aircraft might share some of the same. lights for left and right wing. I'm not sure, but this
But
thing's
mine was
definitely not a
more,
plane.
yeah, mine had more of the blue and like purples and that kind of thing.
Hmm.
But it was pretty bright.
Yeah, that's wild. I just don't know. I mean, obviously, when you take a picture of something and it's a streak like that, it's moving pretty quick.
Yeah.
And I honestly don't even know how we got that, how we got that image right where it was, because something that's moving like that, and you can actually see a trail behind it. You can see a trail behind the craft that it's like, man, that sucker's moving. And there was one lady on an airplane, commercial flight coming into like Chicago or LA, and she got a picture of something very similar, but it was black. It's during the daytime, but it looked just like that. Same
Hmm.
shape, kind of rounded, with a trail to it, or a little bit of tail at the end of it, and that UFO was just moving like super quick.
Yeah.
So it's all anomalies, yeah, but it's like I feel like we should be able to piece this all together, a
Sure.
little bit better than we are. But I'm just like, my question is, for all this restricted airspace, how are there not more alerts going off? Like, I don't know, not like a national emergency alert, but kind of like something in the area, like if anyone knows what it is, like anyone knows anything about it,
Yeah.
feel free. But we don't get anything like that. It's just all done under the table. And I think somebody knows about it. I don't know who knows
Okay.
about it, but it's like people are seeing it on a regular basis now. So why try to cloak and dagger it? That's my take on it. But
Yeah. No, I agree, especially with something that big, um, and so close to a national airport. Um,
hmm.
that's kind of another thing. So
Yeah, because you cannot. I used to be a drone. Well, I still am a drone pilot, like a recreational pilot, but you can't even fly a recreational drone or a private drone, like for a commercial business, unless you get authorization.
mhm,
And even when you have it as a recreational pilot, you still have to abide by all uh, the FAA laws, and you
right.
still have to do all that. But most of the time, unless you get special clearance, you're restricted from any drone activity. And that's how I don't get how some people kind of get around that. There's some people that fly drones that where they shouldn't.
Yeah.
And we then again we see, stuff like this, and it's like, we're all scratching our heads like, I don't know what that is. Like
Yeah.
it's crazy. But
And
um
you don't really know how big it is, but you can kind of tell from as far away as it is,
mhm.
or as far away as it appeared to be versus the size of it. You can tell it had to be a pretty decent size, like airplane ish or bigger,
Oh yeah, it
like
was like a
commercial flight big.
747 at least.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I
But yeah,
mean, there's been so many reports, Um, there's a guy I had on that was in Colorado. It's like the Red Canyon Center. It's some big concert venue place. It's a real popular place. I don't know what actually it's called, but it's like somewhere in Colorado, and it's about around all this red rock, and they made this little amphitheater or whatever. And he said him and his friends were at this theater, and it was packed, but they were kind of in the back nosebleed section,
yeah,
and they saw over the stage into the horizon, and they just saw this giant. I mean, they said it was like at least one or two football fields in length, craft sitting there, and they said they saw it sitting there, then they saw it tilt, and once it tilted, it took off, and they were just all like, "What the heck?" And they were blaming it on the alcohol. But I'm like, I don't know. I've just I've had a lot of reports of stuff like that from other people, so
yeah. And
makes you
I can tell you
wonder.
about a time whenever I was probably about 12 years old. I went out to my grandmother's house.
Hmm.
Or actually, I was at my grandmother's house. My dad came to pick me up to take me home,
Hmm.
and it was probably 11 o'clock at night, something like that. And so we were just out by the car talking, and this was in Frankston, Texas, just outside of Tyler, Texas. And we're sitting out there, super clear night, and we saw this. It looked like a star. I mean, you could tell it was super far away,
Right.
and we're kind of watching it, and it did this little zigzag deal. So it came up, came to a complete stop,
Mm-hmm.
shot down and over, and then from that point it said, and it was gone. And it
Hmm.
was just incredible speed. Um, there's no way you couldn't physically be able to, like, if a person was in there, there's no way with the G forces that would have created, you'd have been a pile of mush. But
Right.
that was, I still remember that to this day. There's no explanation for it. And my dad saw it, my grandma saw it, and my dad still remembers it. Unfortunately, my grandmother had passed on, but my dad still remembers that. So yeah,
Right.
it's crazy. And he
I
was
don't
in the
know.
Navy too, and he's seen some sightings as well.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah,
So
absolutely.
yeah,
I don't know if you know who like Bob Lazar is and Area 51, all that. Old guy used to work there. And the stories have never changed, but some of the way or the ways that he describes it is that uh, I don't know really what they're called, if they're like reactors, something like that. But basically, it all works off frequency, and there's three. They're on the bottom of the craft, uh, but they tilt certain ways, and I guess create a frequency, something like that. But when the frequency gets so high, they're able to basically vanish. Like shoot off
yeah,
fast as whatever that kind of technology is,
yeah,
and to me that I mean that's technology we don't know about, I don't think, but maybe someone does. Who the heck knows? But that's just kind of like when we start talking about frequencies, that's really in depth because there's frequencies that you get from radios, waves from millimeter wave radars, from all sorts
yeah,
of stuff, aircraft. Um, Heck, there's like songs put off frequencies. When you just play a song, regular sound waves have different frequencies.
yep,
And I guess that kind of triggers ASMR, for your brain and all that. But and that's a whole different deal. But when you're talking about frequencies, it's like I feel like the possibility there is kind of endless,
yeah,
on what can happen. So yeah, interesting, but good story, good video, and definitely, you have the evidence there to back it up. And I'm gonna try to see if I can get some people on that have like the same object that you've seen. And
yeah,
so I guess for the channel, that's kind of like one of our goals is to kind of pinpoint all the instances, the stories, all that. But thank you, Brian, for being on the show. I enjoyed having you on, and
yeah,
be sure to like and subscribe, hit the bell for reminders. But it was an honor having you on, and I appreciate your story, bud.
yeah. Same here. Thank you. It's
All
fun.
right, you have a good night and be safe.
All right, thanks, sir.
See you later. Hey guys, thanks for watching the show. Be sure to hit that bell and the subscribe button for more content like this. And if you have an interesting story, be sure to reach out to a storywithrory@gmail.com. I'd love to hear it and have you on. All right, until then, we're out.